Well, hello there. There's an unexpected friend. This guy made it through the winter. Didn't expect anything to grow out of this pot. Greetings! Welcome back to the next episode in this series of videos where I'm showing you what goes on my lawn. Now, I've said a variation of that phrase in the previous videos, and I kind of feel like I need to tag on something at the end because I don't want that statement to come off like, hey, check out my lawn, you like my lawn, right? What I want to tag on at the end is something like, because I feel this is something you guys can do too. And of course, that's aimed at folks that are maybe thinking about starting their lawn program, or maybe they're in their early stages of their lawn care program. I'm just trying to be encouraging, trying to pass on the stuff that I have learned over the years. So on to today's topic. We're going to call today bonus footage because I initially intended to include my spray pre-emergent application in the previous video. The previous video is the one where I did the granular pre-emergent application. But while I was sorting through all that footage, I remembered how daunting or how overwhelming the concept of spraying was for me. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like that. Either way, we're all more comfortable or more familiar with the idea of a granular pre-emergent. So I thought, you know what? Let me just stick to what everybody knows, and then I'll put together a tighter follow-up video that covers my spray pre-emergent application. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with spraying, and you're not even thinking about spraying, stick around anyway. Watch the video, get a feel for the topic. This isn't going to be one of those, you've got to go out and buy a sprayer, you've got to spray everything on your lawn. Just take in the info and tuck it away for later, because I think we all eventually end up incorporating some degree of spraying stuff on our lawn. Besides, you want to watch this video. I'm a fun dude, even if I am wearing this goofy ass hat. I can't seem to get it straight no matter how much I iron it or set it out to dry. All right. Enough of this tomfoolery. Let's start talking about spraying and sprayers and stuff. So I'm not new to spraying. I've been spraying fertilizers, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, all kinds of ides, but I'm spraying a pre-emergent for the first time. And for those of you that saw the first video, you know that my program has always been prodiamine and or dithiapyr in granular form. So first, let us begin by answering a question that many, if not all of you have. Why are you going to spray a pre-emergent on your lawn when you just did a whole video where you talked about applying a granular application to your lawn? That's a fair question. Well, something I've read repeatedly over the past 2-ish years is that turf professionals, and I do mean turf professionals. I'm not talking YouTube guys that are trying to come off like they're turf professionals. I'm talking legit crop managers and turf professionals. I keep reading how one common practice of these professionals in their weed control and in their weed suppression programs is to rotate through different herbicides so that they don't use the same one over and over again. And one popular method that they use is they make these cocktails, and cocktails is a word I'm using, right? But they make these mixtures that have different modes of action. A mode of action is how an herbicide targets a weed. So you have some herbicides that are root growth inhibitors, photosynthesis inhibitors, others that are cellulose inhibitors. Now back to the turf pros. So what they do is they mix up these cocktails or mixtures of all these different herbicides that have different modes of action so that they can treat for weeds from different angles. And it seems that the trend is to use 3 modes of action. Well, you've already seen me do the prodiamine video. That's one mode of action. So in this video, we're going to apply 2 more modes of action. And we're going to do it in spray form. Now, the specific reason that they're doing this is because weeds can and do develop a resistance to herbicides. It's happened in the past. And if you think about weeds developing a resistance or a tolerance to herbicides, well, it gets a little scarier when you think about this whole DIY lawn care thing. What I mean is that this whole DIY lawn care thing has really exploded in the past 6-7 years. And you have a lot of these YouTube guys that are pushing prodiamine and dithiapyr. And if you think about that, that means that a whole lot of prodiamine and a whole lot of dithiapyr is being sold and applied to people's lawns across the country, across the whole world. So are we increasing the likelihood that our lawn weeds are going to develop a resistance or a tolerance to our herbicides? I'm inclined to think so. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm smart enough to know that I'm going to take my cues from the pros. And if the pros say that this is a legitimate concern, then I'm on board. But this weed resistance or tolerance thing, it's legit, and there's a ton of university research to back that up. So maybe it's a matter of time before I have to start hand pulling more weeds, right? Because my prodiamine and dithiapyr aren't as effective as they once were. So I'm going to do my part. I don't want to be a part of the problem. And I'm going to rotate my herbicides. And so in this video, you're going to witness me branching out and expanding my horizons as far as pre-emergents go. Within the sprayer category, there's two types of sprayers. You have these. You've all seen these. You probably even own one. This is a manual pump sprayer. The big issue with manual pump sprayers is that they don't maintain a constant pressure. The minute you depress the trigger on the wand, it's dropping pressure inside the tank. So you have to regularly pump up the pressure to try and maintain a consistent spray pattern. But also, gaskets, the handles, the pump, the hose, the wand, they tend to be made on the cheaper side. You gotta remember, these are roughly about 25 to 30 bucks. Personally, I would categorize these as a disposable tool. Don't expect it to last very long if it's going to be your only sprayer and you're going to spray your lawn regularly. And so the other kind of sprayer is the battery-powered sprayer. Now these are superior in that they are able to maintain a constant pressure. Now you can find hand cans that come with a cap that's battery-powered. So you're able to maintain a constant pressure with one of these. These are perfect size for someone with a small lawn or someone that doesn't mind refilling their tank a lot if they have a big lawn. But battery-powered sprayers are usually bought in bigger tank capacities. You have backpack sprayer type, you have the push sprayer type, you have the tow behind, which you can tow behind a tractor or a mower. The big thing is you want to buy the appropriate size sprayer for the size of lawn that you have. I wouldn't want to spray an acre with one of these. Although it'd be great exercise, it'd take forever. But I also don't want to buy a tow behind sprayer when I only have 5,000 square feet. Now, like we did with the granular spreader, we talked about some of the advantages and disadvantages of that method. On the advantages side, your fertilizers are cheaper, your fungicides, your insecticides, your herbicides, on a per application basis, they are significantly cheaper. The second advantage, superior application. I mean, you can get surgical with this thing. You don't have to worry about granules winding up on the sidewalk or on your driveway or on the street. Where you hold the wand is where it's going to spray. The only thing you have to worry about is wind. And there are a few things you can do to mitigate drift when it's a windy day. Another big advantage of sprayers is the customizability. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going to roll with it. You can change out the spray tips, right? Some spray tips will give you a coarser droplet, right? A bigger droplet. Some will give you a finer mist. Another part you can customize is the wand. This wand is the one that came with this backpack sprayer. It's built well. It's a good quality wand. However, for my needs, it was uncomfortable to use. For my applications, I have to hold my wand right here. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. And it was uncomfortable to walk around with my hand like that after a while. So I changed out the wand. And so what I did is I made a new wand. And this was put together using a parts list by a gentleman that goes by the handle DFW Pilot. He shared with us all the parts you needed to make a wand that was quality. Now again, you can customize these. You can make these with a straight shaft, the curved, shorter, longer, right? For taller people, shorter people. You can position the trigger where you want it. Some people like it on the bottom, some people like it on the top. You can change the hose and get a better hose. There's some different things you can customize about a sprayer to make your applications more efficient, more accurate. Now the disadvantages. Number one, The barrier to entry is a little higher when you get into this method of application. On average, a quality sprayer will cost you about $150 on up, right? Another possible disadvantage is that there's a little more to learn as far as like spray tips. That is a deep rabbit hole, but spray tips are also the difference between a great application and a bad application. So they're pretty important. And one possible disadvantage, again, it just depends how you look at it. One possible disadvantage ties into one of the advantages. So I said earlier, it's much cheaper on a per application basis to use a sprayer. But where there's a possible issue is that those products that you spray on your lawn sometimes only come in large quantities, which means higher dollar value. And this is because spraying products on your lawn is still considered to be a professional application method. A professional applicator is treating a lot of lawns, right? Maybe even acres. And so they need bigger bottles or bigger bags of these spray products. And some of these products that we use on the standard sized home lawn can be found in smaller quantities, but for the most part, some of these herbicides and fungicides, they're only available in the big sizes. For example, here's one herbicide. This is 2.5 gallons of Simazine, right? This is one of the herbicides I'm going to use today. I need to split that with somebody. Sometimes they come in powders. This will last me forever. Sometimes they come in little bottles like these. This will last me 3-4 years right here. One solution for us DIY guys when we want to get an expensive herbicide or an expensive fungicide or something like that is to split the cost. For my 5,000 square foot lawn, I usually need a few ounces of a certain herbicide or something like that. For example, like this one, the smallest quantity you can buy this is 18 ounces. Well, I only needed about 8, so I split the bottle with somebody else. All right, so we have our sprayer. We're ready to get going, right? There's one thing you need to do when you first get your sprayer, and that's called calibration. Now, don't let that scare you. You're not going to physically do anything to your sprayer to calibrate it. Calibration is really about calibrating yourself. So there's two things we need to figure out. We need to figure out how long it takes for your sprayer to put out 1 gallon of water. Then we need to learn how fast or how slow you need to walk a 1,000 square foot section of your lawn in the same amount of time that it takes for your sprayer to put out 1 gallon of water. Now, figuring out your square footage is something I also covered in the previous granular pre-emergent video. Feel free to go back to that video. And again, I'm new to this YouTube thing. I don't know if it's going to show up here or here, but it's somewhere on your screen right now. You can click on that and watch that and learn how to figure out your square footage. But don't click away yet. Finish watching this one. You can always go back to that one a little bit later on. So let's do the first part. Let's figure out how long it takes for this sprayer to put out 1 gallon of water. It's pretty easy to figure out. And there's a lot of videos online that'll show you how to do it. A lot of them talk about go out and get a bucket, put in a gallon of water, and then mark off the level so that you know what a gallon of water looks like inside the bucket, right? And then you put your spray wand in the bucket and you time yourself filling up that bucket to that mark that you put where the 1 gallon mark was. Do that 2 or 3 or 4 times to get a loose average of how long it takes for your sprayer to do that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you're using a battery powered sprayer, you should end up getting pretty much the exact same time because the spray rate doesn't change on a battery powered sprayer. Now, an even easier way to figure out how long it takes for your sprayer to put out 1 gallon of water is just use the markings that are already on the tank, right? I've got a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. There's 1 gallon, 2 gallons, 3 gallons, 4 gallons. So if I fill this up to the 2-gallon mark, I take my wand and I time myself squeezing the trigger and watch the water go down from the 2-gallon mark to the 1-gallon mark. Well, then I've just learned how long it takes for my sprayer to put out 1 gallon of water. Now for me, I did this when I first got my sprayer. At my preferred pressure setting, it takes my sprayer 2 minutes and 20 seconds to put out 1 gallon of water. Now that we've learned how long it takes for our sprayer to put out 1 gallon of water, it's time to figure out the other half of the calibration process, which is simply just figuring out how fast or how slow we need to walk a 1,000 square foot section of our lawn in the same amount of time that it takes for the sprayer to put out that 1 gallon of water. So for me, it takes 2 minutes and 20 seconds to spray out a gallon of water. So I have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to walk a 1,000 square foot section of our lawn. But first, very quickly, I got 3 letters for you. P.P.E, personal protective equipment. You have to wear it. I realized early on how legit this stuff really is. When I first bought my sprayer and I was figuring out the whole spray thing, I learned early on that when you spray on your lawn, the spray just kind of disappears into the grass and you can't see where you just sprayed. And so for us beginners, they sell this marker dye. It's a blue ink, and you drop a few drops of that marker dye inside the spray tank with your mixes. So it colors the water blue so that when you spray, it leaves a blue tint on the grass telling you where you've already sprayed. Well, I used it, right? Pretty proud of myself. I did an even coverage. Great. Fantastic. Put my stuff up. I went inside to take a shower. When I got inside and I looked in the mirror, all over my face and my glasses and the collar of my shirt was speckled with those blue dots. So what that means is that the first few times I sprayed and I didn't use that blue marker, stuff that was in the tank was clear and I was spraying an herbicide. It was on me. I just couldn't see it until I used that blue dye, and those blue specks showed up all over my face and my glasses and my hands. And so just because you can't see it on you doesn't mean it's not on you. Just cover up. Long sleeves, long pants, waterproof boots, because as you're spraying, the mist gets on your feet. So waterproof boots, wear your mask, wear your gloves, just cover up. You're only gonna wear this stuff as long as it takes to spray your lawn, right? So don't risk it, man, be safe. All right, so one quick tip for doing this part of the calibration process. This block you see right here, that's 996 square feet. I lucked out that way, so pretty easy for me. So how wide our paths are is dictated by how wide our spray setup sprays. So the general technique is this: always hold the spray tip 20 inches off the ground. That's just the way these are rated. That's what they're built for, 20 inches off the ground. For me, I'm 5'11", that's right below my knee. You hold it there, don't waver, no side to side, no back and forth. You lock your arm in that position with the spray tip 20 inches off the ground, okay? Now we've got some pretty strong wind, right? But when we don't have any wind, it's a pretty consistent spray, and it sprays roughly 42 inches. Now it thins out at the end, so I'm gonna say it's a 40-inch swath. So that's how long each path is gonna be, roughly 40 inches. Back, move over, back. You want the edges of your spray path to just touch the one that you just sprayed on the way coming this way. You don't want to overlap too much, and you don't want to leave any gaps, because if you're applying something like fertilizer, what's going to happen is you'll literally see green and a strip that isn't as green or isn't growing as much because it didn't get sprayed. So it's all about just overlapping a hair, getting those edges to overlap just a little bit. And one final tip I can give you is this: to determine how fast or how slow you should be walking, use a metronome. A metronome is a tool that us fancy, snobby musicians use to play music at a consistent tempo, okay? If you go to Google, and for anybody wondering, yes, that is what I do. I am a professional performing musician. If you go to Google, creepy Google, right? Google does everything, man. Do you guys find it odd at all that you could be talking to someone about something obscure, you know, a movie or some type of product, then later on in the day, when you open up your social media or whatever app on the internet, and the ads you see are about that very thing you were talking about earlier in the day? Pretty creepy, right? They're listening, man. Be careful, they're listening. All right, so if you go to Google, in the search bar, type the word metronome. When you hit enter, it's gonna bring up a metronome, and it's got a little slider. If you move it one way, it beeps faster. If you move it the other way, it beeps slower. For me and my height and my stride, I have learned that 72 BPM is the pace I need to walk at to cover this 1,000 square foot section in the 2 minutes and 20 seconds it takes for my sprayer to put out that 1 gallon of water. Now again, you might be taller, you might be shorter, your stride might be a little different. So for you, it could be a different number. Not could, it probably will be a different number. Could be 75, could be 80, could be 65. You're sort of married to your sprayer's time. So if you have a sprayer that takes 3 minutes to put out a gallon of water, then it's gonna be slower. If you have a sprayer that puts it out faster, then it's gonna be faster. Now, here's what a metronome sounds like. Each of those clicks is a footstep. Now remember, don't change your stride. Walk with a normal walking stride. Don't take a bigger step or a smaller step. Your normal step, that's your foot hitting the ground. And don't forget the width of your spray pattern, right? You go in one direction. When you come back, you're walking at this tempo, and you've moved over enough so that the edge of your spray pattern barely touches the edge of the spray pattern from the previous pass. Does that make sense? And that's all it takes, right? Just do this a few times, bump it up, bump it down, find that tempo so that you walk this area in the same amount of time that it takes for your sprayer to put out that 1 gallon of water. This is important. It'll take a few tries, and that's okay. Figure this out. You want to get this right. All right, time to do some math so we can apply our product. Come on, gloves. Okay. I'm not gonna put my mask on yet so you guys can hear me talk, all right? I'm not gonna open any bottles yet, so I don't have to worry about inhaling anything. All right, so in the previous video, you saw me do prodiamine for my granular pre-emergent application. And as I've already stated earlier in the video, the whole point in me incorporating 2 more herbicides into my pre-emergent plan is just to have multiple modes of action, right? So I'm gonna attack the weeds in different ways. All right, the first one we'll talk about is Esplanade. Esplanade is the name, right? The active ingredient in Esplanade is Indaziflam, okay? And that is a group 29 herbicide. Prodiamine is a group 3, right? So now we're using one from a different group, which means a different mode of action. And the other herbicide I'm gonna use today is Simazine. This is a group 5 herbicide, right? So I have prodiamine, group 3. I have Indaziflam, group 29. I have Simazine. This is group 5. So I've got 3 M.O.As, 3 modes of action in my pre-emergent plan after I apply these 2. Now let's get this out of the way real quick. Why this one? Really for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's really inexpensive. This whole bottle costs me like $85. It's 2.5 gallons. I'll never use all this. It'll go bad before I get to the bottom. So I'm gonna split this with someone. The second reason I'm using this one is because it's a great pre-emergent, but also it's got some post-emergent control on M.O.A that's already grown in. And then why this one, Esplanade? Well, really for one reason. This is kind of like the popular one right now. There are no known resistances to Esplanade. All right, so I'm losing daylight here. Let me move a little quicker. Let's go with Esplanade first. My rate of Esplanade is 0.16 ounces per 1,000 square feet for the whole year. Now, like I said in the previous video, most people don't apply the max rate all at once. They apply it in multiple applications or split applications, like I did with the prodiamine. I'm gonna apply it in 2 different applications. So I'm gonna do the same thing here, except I'm gonna do something a little different. I spray regularly my fertilizers and fungicides and stuff like that. So it's not a problem for me to just throw in my second application when it's time for it, whenever I'm doing a fertilizer application or a fungicide application or something like that. So again, I'm gonna take my 0.16 ounces per 1,000 square feet for the whole year, and I'm gonna divvy that up into 4 applications that'll equal out to that 0.16 ounces. So if I break that up into 4 applications, what do you get? 0.04, right? Because 0.04 times 4 is 0.16. So my first application of Esplanade is going to be 0.04 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So I'm taking my 1,600 square feet, 1.6 times the application rate of Esplanade, which is 0.04 ounces per 1,000 square feet, right? So 1.6 times 0.04, and I get 0.064. All right, so I'm gonna put my mask on. I'm gonna open up this bottle and get ready to start measuring stuff out with my syringe and putting it into the sprayer. Open up my sprayer. Now, if you remember in the calibration part of the video, I talked about how the label rate recommends 1 gallon of water for every 1,000 square feet. So for my 1,600 square foot lawn, I need 1.6 gallons in the sprayer. So what we normally do is we put in half the amount. We put in our herbicide or fertilizer, fungicide, whatever, and then you add the other half of the water that you need. That way it agitates it a little bit. We're still going to use a paint stirrer to agitate it even more and make sure we get a good mix. Okay, so wearing my mask, I'm going to open this up. Okay, I already have the right amount of water in my sprayer. All right, I went a little too deep in there. There it is. All right, now that we're done measuring out Esplanade for my front yard, let's do Simazine. Simazine, the application rate is 0.75 ounces for every 1,000 square feet. But my habit is to go with a reduced rate. I am going with 75% of that 0.75 ounces. When I do that math, I get 0.75 times 0.75, right? I get 0.5625 ounces per 1,000 square feet. And now I need to multiply that rate, the 0.5625, to the area that I'm going to treat, which is 1,600 square feet, right, for my front yard. Again, we convert that 1,600 to 1.6. So when I multiply that number I got times 1.6, I get 0.9 ounces. That's what I need to treat 1,600 square feet. Okay, close that up. Put in the rest of our water. Okay. Let's mix it a little bit. All right, let's go spray my front yard. All right, got my 1.6 gallons of mix in the tank. Got my metronome. Here I go. Okay, let's get this last little bit here before we lose the rest of the daylight. My backyard is 3,250 square feet. So using the same format we used before, 3,250 becomes 3.25. I'm going to multiply that times the application rate for both this one, and then I'll do it again for this one. All right, we said our application rate for Esplanade was 0.04 ounces for every 1,000 square feet. Again, I'm doing 4 applications of that. This video is me doing the first application. I get my calculator, 3.25 for my 3,250 square feet times 0.04 ounces, and I get 0.13 ounces. There we go. Get my napkin. Oh, I gotta take the lid off. Squeeze that in there. All right. Set that aside. Now we do this one. Before I uncover it, let me do the math. 3.25 for my backyard times, and we said the application rate for this originally on the label is 0.75 ounces per 1,000 square feet. But I am doing a reduced rate, and the reduced rate that I decided on was 0.56 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So 3.25 times 0.56 ounces, and I get 1.82 ounces. Cover that up. Put the rest of my water in. All right, we're gonna go ahead and agitate some more, and go easy. You don't want to mess up the internals of the tank, right? The pump or this where it siphons the water. So just go easy. Let's put our lid back on. Let's go spray the backyard. All right, let's try and finally wrap up this video. I hope the pacing of the video hasn't been too frantic. I really enjoy sharing the information with you guys. I just want to put the video together and get it out to you. As far as what's coming up, guys, we've done all the big stuff that needs to be done to the lawn at the beginning of the season. We scalped the lawn, we soil tested, we've done pre-emergent application. In my case, I did 2 different kinds of pre-emergent applications. Not necessary, but it's something I wanted to try because of what I've heard the pros are doing these days. But at this point, we get into a rhythm. It's going to be mowing, watering, occasionally fertilizing. The other big one is fungicides. And so if you want to follow me as I go along another lawn care season, you know what to do. I'm not going to say it. You know me and my reluctance to be a YouTube guy. I don't want to say things that make me sound YouTubey. And remember, I'm not a pro. I'm certainly not trying to come off like a pro. I'm just a DIY guy who's been doing this for a few seasons. Hope I can help you guys. Thanks for watching.